Have you ever realized that the love you once craved, the love that once felt like home, wasn't actually healthy or safe for you? I'm starting to realize that healing isn't about moving on. It's about recognizing what's familiar and choosing differently. And I share this with you because of the fact that the other day I was in a disagreement with somebody that I was talking to for a few weeks, and I felt myself getting triggered. And by triggered, it was a different type of trigger. It wasn't like I was upset or angry or anything like that. I literally felt like I turned into the little boy inside of me, just getting yelled at and screamed at. And it honestly felt like this person was treating me like how my father did when I was younger. And that was a big realization for me, because I recognized that it was something familiar, but then I also recognized that it wasn't something healthy or that I wanted to be around. So let's get into that. So I was in a disagreement with somebody, and I felt myself kind of all of a sudden, I wasn't present anymore. I traveled back in time into my childhood in that very moment. I felt like I was a little boy again, being talked at, not talked to. I was being spoken at, not spoken to. And I recognized the familiarity in that moment. And I had the conversation within myself saying, wow, this is what I've been trying to heal from. Not only did I not want to be that or partake in that, I knew it wasn't good for me. And just like back then, my nervous system wanted to shut down. But this time, I didn't yell back. I didn't fight back. I didn't try to win the argument. I simply just listened and did my best to create a safe space and realized it wasn't something personal. Understanding that oftentimes when people feel hurt, they don't recognize that there's a difference between sharing how you feel to someone and trying to make that person feel how you feel, in terms of you unintentionally hurting them in the process. Because you can explain how you feel without hurting the other person in the process. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't love. It was just a familiar pain. And maybe a more unhealed version of myself would have gravitated more towards it, or tried to win over its approval, or just apologize and just took the beat down. But I reacted differently. I sat there, I took it, and I recognized that it wasn't something healthy. I recognized that I just needed to create a safe space for this person to just let everything out. And the healed version of me could finally tell the difference. For the first time of my life, I was exposed to something that I literally sat there and I said to myself, this feels so familiar, but so wrong at the same time. Because I wanted something healthy. I wanted something safe. I wanted something that didn't remind me of my childhood. And if anything, it was a big growth moment and breakthrough for myself. Because healing doesn't always show up as peace. Oftentimes, or sometimes, it shows up as a clarity in the middle of chaos. And that's what happened. It didn't show up as peace in that moment. During that chaotic disagreement or argument, or however you want to articulate it, I found clarity in it. Because I realized it was familiar, but I realized it wasn't something that I wanted in my life, or at least to keep around or entertain. The boy inside of me would have chased, would have begged, would have tried to fix it, but the man of who I am today chose peace, even if peace means letting go. Because when your nervous system starts to heal, it stops craving what once broke you. And instead of chasing what's familiar, you start chasing what feels right, what feels safe, no longer what feels familiar. And that was a huge breakthrough for me, because in that moment I realized I tried so hard to just listen, validate, to help the other person feel seen and heard. But I recognized that the person across from me wasn't looking for a resolution, wasn't looking for reconciliation. They were looking for retribution. They felt hurt And maybe they were just unaware, but in the process of being hurt, they wanted me to be hurt too. And it's not their fault, but I recognized it in that moment. And this leads me to Matthew 6 verse 33, which says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added to you." And it reminds me of this quote that says something along the lines of, if you chase God as hard as you chased people, places, and things, God would give you people, places, and things that you don't have to chase after. And that really hit home. Because what if the reason why we keep chasing people who don't feel safe is because we haven't learned how to chase God first? I know you hear me, but are you listening? Because what if we chase God as hard as we chase people, places, and things in temporary comfort? What if he would give us the peace, the love, the connection we no longer have to run after? I believe he will. Because the more I choose him, the less I start to settle for anything. Your standards inevitably go up because you recognize that if it's not from God, it won't feel right. And if it doesn't feel right, you don't want it in your life. Simply said. And this is part of the overall healing journey, the healing process. It's not easy, it's difficult, it's painful, but you don't have to do it alone. Join our healing community. We have over 1,100 people in our community, and you don't have to go through this journey alone. You can be heard, seen, and walk in purpose just like everybody else in that community. Link is in the description, and I'd love to see you there. But I want to remind you that familiar doesn't mean safe. So if you're like me, if you've ever had to sit in a moment and realize this feels familiar, but it also isn't healthy, you recognize that. All right, here, rewind. So if you're like me, you've sat in a situation where you said to yourself, wait, this feels familiar, but it also doesn't feel safe or healthy. Then you start to realize in this healing process and healing journey is that familiar doesn't always mean safe. Oftentimes it means not safe and not healthy. And that's part of breaking that generational trauma and generational curse. Because if you grew up like me, where you had to earn love and where you had to perform love, whether it's getting good grades, being good at sports, being a good kid, performing in order to receive love, then in your adulthood, you'll feel the same way, where you start being attracted towards people that are emotionally unavailable because you have to perform. You have to try hard to earn their attention. So you feel worthy if you're able to win those people over, but that's not healthy love, and that's not the love that you deserve, because it causes you to go further away from yourself just to attract them. Let that sink in. And craving something broken doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you're ready to heal. So choose differently. Choose peace, choose God, and he'll bring you people, places, and things that you don't have to lose yourself in order to keep. If this message met you where you are, drop a comment below. Talk about your favorite parts. What you like, what you didn't like. When we stop chasing what's broken, God gives us something whole. And that's what's so beautiful about this overall journey. Thank you so much for watching this far. I appreciate you. So much love from the bottom of my heart. Peace from Dees.